Welcome to a stunning Brands Hatch for the season opener of the Raceparts 750 Formula Championship. Now these cars are very lightweight, they've got sticky tyres, sticky Yokohama tyres, 1100cc engine out of a Fiat Panda. However, a man who's been in this formula for many years, the number is 50 years. Bob Simpson, you've been racing in this championship for 50 years, back again here at Brands Hatch. How are you feeling?
How am I feeling? I don't know. I was feeling all right till we got here, but I'm quite nervous now. But once we get out on the grid, I should be fine, I think.
It's a fantastic championship to be racing, and the cars are brilliant. What are these like to drive? They're not hugely powerful, but very lightweight.
Well, they're not powerful, no, but we generally have close racing, and so it should be quite an interesting race if the leader don't pull out too much of a lead. I had a few brake issues this morning, so I'm hoping we've cured those. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, good luck. That's all we can say. Hopefully we'll see you on the other end.
Thanks very much. Thank you.
Cheers. Okay. So let's see how this first race of the weekend pans out. I'll hand you up to the commentary box and Andy McEwen.
Yeah, thank you very much, Anthony. The cars lining up on the grid there ahead of this opening race. Here's how they line up. Ed Piteller and Bill Cowley make up row one, ahead of Peter Bove and Mark Glover. Then Martin Kemp and Chris Goff, ahead of Bob Simpson and Bill Rutter. Sue Harris and Dan Welsh round out the top 10. Tonin Mattia is not there, but Paul Morris is. We also have a non-start, I'm afraid, for Conway Dorr back on the 7th row of the grid. But everybody else is there, ready and raring to go for 13 minutes plus one lap. The lights go out after a fair bit of creeping now, and Bill Cowley from the outside of row one, traditionally a good starter. He gets his nose in front as they rush down towards Paddock Hill Bend for the first time, but it is going to be Ed Piteller, I think, with the inside line, who will hold on, but Cowley gets a better exit from Paddock Hill Bend, gets back up the inside line on the run towards Druids, and he may well try and retake that race lead. Let's see what happens. Yes, off in the distance, they're still side by side, on board in the pink number 11 car here with Chris Goff. That is Peter Bove in front of us. Peter's lost a few positions off the start, started third, he's dropped down to 5th already, but as the leaders descend down through the left-hander of Graham Hill Bend along the Cooper Straight. There in third position, look, is Mark Glover, so he's got ahead of Peter Bove as well. Martin Kemp, I think, is the one in behind him, but it's Ed Piteller from pole position that leads the way. He was half a second quicker than Bill Cowley in qualifying, but I think that Bill, who I think himself would say he's a better racer than qualifier, he ought to be able to stay with him. There towards the tail end is Thomas Driscoll in the number 51 car, but the lead pack streaks across the line for the first time. Piteller leads, Cowley second, third place then is Mark Glover, fourth is indeed going to be Martin Kemp. The rest of them streak through behind. We're going to see that some of these cars maybe have a bit more of an advantage in the straight lines, some of them a little bit quicker through the corners, and that car of Bill Cowley, the Cowley Mark IV, is particularly good through the corners, but maybe just lacks a little bit for straight line speed, and that's going to be making it difficult for him to find a way past Ed Piteller for the race lead, but we'll wait and see. He'll certainly give it a good go if he can. Towards clearways they come for the first time. Cowley, look, you can see much later on the brakes, but then can't really do anything with it because they get out onto the straight and Piteller will just start to stretch his legs. Of course, Cowley's also got to watch out because he's got Mark Glover not that far behind him in third. In fairness though, with the slipstream, Cowley is sort of staying with Piteller. The Brands Hatch Indy circuit, one of the more technically demanding circuits that we race at, and so the Cowley is fairly quick around the tighter, more technical circuits. It's only places like Snetterton and Silverstone, the long straights, where it tends to struggle. Bill Cowley was built by his grandfather a long time ago, and has been developed and honed and fine-tuned over the years. Bill's been competing in it now for several years and has always been a front runner in this Raceparts 750 Formula Championship. Leaders turn their way in towards Surtees and on towards Clearways and Clark Curve, and Bill Cowley in second place, closing back in, but these three cars making a bit of a break now from Peter Bove, who's back into fourth. But keep an eye on Peter Bove because he ought to be able to start bridging the gap to these cars. Remember, Peter qualified third, about 1 second off pole position time set by Piteller, but Piteller at the moment is not running the sort of times that he was in qualifying yesterday. Pole position was 53 flat. At the moment we're in the high 53s, so nearly a second off pole position. Here comes Mark Glover though for second place, looking to the inside of Bill Cowley towards Druids. He's late on the brakes. It takes quite a lot to outbrake Bill Cowley in that thing, but that's exactly what Mark Glover has just done, and he moves through into second place. now wait to see then whether Bill Cowley will be able to retaliate, but that's not what he was hoping for. He was really wanting to just concentrate on attacking for the race lead, but this could potentially work out in his favour, I suppose, because Ed Piteller in the PRS may now start to become under a little bit more pressure from the Race Kits Falcon of Glover, and those two cars are a little bit more equally matched in a straight line, and so if perhaps Glover could open the door, Cowley could follow him through, and then they could settle it once they get out in front. We'll have to wait and see. They're about to catch to lap Tony Brazier, I beg your pardon, the lilac-covered 73 machine, BFS. That won't be till later on around the lap. There's the number 50 car, Bob Simpson, coming through as well, who we spoke to in the assembly area, but the leaders definitely getting tighter together. And I would say that this man, Peter Bove, is closing in a little bit on the three in front as well, and especially if they start coming across traffic or if they start really tripping over each other, Peter could really benefit from that and could yet make this a four-way fight for the race lead. And they're side by side for the race lead. Bill Cowley was a bit wide in third, but Mark Glover, it looked to me like, was up the inside of Ed Piteller towards Surtees. Ed chops his nose off though as they turn into the left-hander, but now into the right-hander he goes back up the inside. Oh no, not quite. Ed Piteller just about manages to shut the door, but this is very, very close racing indeed, just what we wanted to see. Of course, Bill Cowley closing back in as well now, so this is once more a three-way fight, and in fact Glover does not seem to have quite the straight line speed I anticipated he would. If anything, Bill Cowley is a little bit quicker than him in a straight line, so it looks as though maybe Bill is going to have to just sit there and wait and see what happens, but he doesn't want to sit there too long because Peter Bove is definitely growing larger in his wing mirrors. There is Peter in the orange number 6 car. These four a country mile ahead of anybody else, but I think it is Bob Simpson, isn't it, who's next? Yes, it is. There in the blue number 50 car. Turns his way through the right-hander. Celebrating his 50th year of racing is Bob. Going about it in a good way as well. Only qualified 7th, but he's running up there in the 5th position now and on his own, so no one else really around him. Oh dear, Bill Cowley getting caught out in traffic. Oh no, and it's cost him 3rd place now. So Peter Bove has gone through, and there was a back marker there that just couldn't get out of the way. There were 3 cars that arrived on the scene as one, and unfortunately it was Cowley who went to the outside, presumably thinking that he could gain some ground around there, who got hung out to dry and nearly put into the gravel trap. On board now with Chris Goff, the number 11 car, running a little bit further down the order. He is in the CGR2 Evo, very distinctively liveried car that you can't really miss in the middle of the pack. He's not really in the middle of the pack at the moment. He's circulating in beautiful isolation as he makes his way out of Druids up towards, out to Panicle Bend, up towards Druids, beg your pardon. You can see the weird and wonderful shapes and sizes that we have on the grid, everything from the big chunky cars like that one down to the little nimble Cowleys and whatnot. This is for 2nd place meanwhile. Mark Glover now definitely falling away from Ed Piteller into the clutches of a resurgent Peter Bove. So Peter looking here to try and nick 2nd place away, which would be pretty impressive. He was half a second slower, he was 3/10 quicker. I'll get this right in a moment. He was 8/10 quicker than Mark Glover in qualifying, beg your pardon, and so you would expect him to be a little bit quicker, but with the fact that Piteller is not that far up the road, maybe if he can get past Glover quickly, he could even be on for a race victory here. This is often the case in 750 Formula Championship races. It's never entirely clear after qualifying who the expected pace setters are going to be, and quite often if you have a bit of a lacklustre qualifying session, then you can work your way through in the race and challenge for a race victory. So towards clearways, another back marker there, diving out of the way. That looks to me like it's Bill Rutter in the Baton 3, which stays well out of harm's way up at clearways. But Bill Cowley really has dropped out of contention, it would seem, for the time being, in 4th place. The top 3 cars definitely pulling away from him. And that's a shame for Bill, because this would have been one of the circuits he was anticipating that car would be really well suited to. There's time yet, though, for the race to come to him. Reasonably long races, 13 minutes plus 1 lap, but with the speed that they're lapping this place, that's around about 15 or 16 laps. There across the line goes the number 28 machine. That's James Jeffrey in the ADRS Sports prototype. That was the pan that nearly got collected by the leaders a few laps ago up at clearways. That car doesn't appear to be going quite at full speed, though, I would suggest, down to Paddock Hill Bend, up into Druids. Now seems to have picked up again now, but James taking it easy here, I think, in this opening race of the season, and he's running down towards the back end of the top 10 as we speak. Heads out of Grave Hill Bend, back down the Cooper Straight. This car, not the quickest in a straight line. One of the newer body kits on that car, actually, the ADRS. Running within Class B, he is. Sue Harris, incidentally, in the Derby 597 is leading Class B at the moment, and she's running not far outside the top 6 or 7. So good stuff from Sue. In the purple number 27 car, we'll have to wait and see whether we catch up with her a little bit later on in the race. But back across the line comes James Jeffrey. Another lap begins, and again, he's one of few drivers out there who don't have anyone to play with at the moment. Ed Pither did have several people to play with earlier on, but he's now just started to pull out into this little bit of a lead. There in second place is Mark Glover, third still Peter Bove, and fourth is Bill Cowley. The long-nosed cars, if you like, coming to the fore at this stage of the race, it would seem. The cars with the engine and the driver mounted as far back as possible for best weight distribution. Of course, having the cockpit that far back puts all of the weight on the rear tyres. It helps with traction, in theory, coming out of the corners, because they're rear-wheel drive, these cars, of course. And so having the driver sat that far back, right out over the rear axle almost, that will keep that extra bit of weight over the rear wheels. Closing in nicely though for second place. Look at this, Mark Glover is looking for the race lead here around the outside of Ed Pither. What's going on here? Mark Glover is going into the race lead. Now, I didn't see that one coming. Has Pither got a problem? All of a sudden the gap seemed to disappear, and Mark Glover was right back with him. Back across the line they go. That's brought Peter Bove. Yeah, there must be a problem for Ed Pither. Ed Pither has problems, and he loses second place, and it looks as though he may not finish the race. What a shame for the man who had led this one from start to, well, nearly finish, because we are now getting towards the closing stages of this race. But Ed Pither looks as though he may be having to crawl into retirement. We'll wait and see whether he can make it round to the end. If it's something that's not going to damage the car by running it further, then he might be able to limp home and score some valuable points. But if he doesn't finish, he won't score a single point, and that will be a disastrous start to his season. And so now we have Mark Glover versus Peter Bove for the race lead. That man there, Bill Cowley, is back into the podium positions now, but they're coming across an awful lot of traffic. That's the number 46 car that they're going past him down Welsh. Number 28, James Jeffrey, goes another lap down, and Peter Bove runs out wide, and Bill Cowley takes second. So Bill Cowley back through into second position now, and all of a sudden a race that was rather unravelling for Bill earlier on is coming right back to him. So Glover leads the way, Cowley is in second position, and Peter Bove has it all to do again down in third. But I was just about to start making the point that Peter Bove was now sat pretty strong position, really, in second place. He looked a bit quicker than Glover earlier on, and I thought that he was about to start attacking for the race lead. But now it is car number 1, Bill Cowley, who is challenging for the lead instead. Back out of Druids they go, down towards Graham Hill Bend, as we tick ever closer to the end of the race. Still time for a few more laps, though. There's time for more drama, that's for sure. And there's time, possibly, for Peter Bove to close back in. But we've seen Bill Cowley lose out in traffic up at this part of the circuit, and on that occasion really gain from it. Now, what can he do about Mark Glover? This is the battle that we had earlier on for second place, wasn't it, when Glover got past him, and I suggested that maybe Cowley would stick with him and try and follow him past Ed Pither if that ever materialised. Well, now Bill has to do it all on his own. He's pulling in right in the slipstream, might have a look at the inside line towards Paddock Hill Bend. Yes, he does. Bill is very, very good on the brakes, and he forces the way through. They're side by side through the corner, and that was clever driving from Bill Cowley. He saw the 73 car of Tony Brazier. They were about to put a lap on him, and he used him as a pick. He essentially ran Mark Glover in behind the slower car, knowing that Mark would have to lift off, otherwise he was going to run into the back of the lapped car. And so really clever driving there from Bill Cowley, and remarkably he's gone from 4th to leading the race again over the last few laps. Peter Bove's not out of it yet though, he's there in 3rd. But this has been a sensational opening round of the Raceparts 750 Formula Championship for 2018, and it's not over yet, because Mark Glover thought about getting up the inside there in towards Clearways. They're putting, I think that's Tom Driscoll, a lap down, but we've got 3 for the lead again. Cowley, Glover, and now Peter Bove. Peter Bove is pulling up alongside Mark Glover as they come across the start-finish line, tucked back into the slipstream, back to the outside. We're on to the final lap of the race now, and it is going to be Bill Cowley who leads them onto that last lap, but Mark Glover is going to try and close back in again on the exit. Sensational racing this is. Cowley to the inside, they're 3 abreast in towards Druids on the final lap. That very nearly went wrong there. Down the hill they go into Graham Hill Bend again, and Cowley still tenaciously hanging on to the race lead, but there is still chances for this to change over. Glover behind him, Bove there in third, and Peter Bove's going for second place on the inside through Surtees. This takes the pressure off Bill Cowley beautifully. Through the final corner they go, and as long as he gets a good exit from here, he should just about have the straight line speed to keep Glover at bay. Or will he? It's going to be a drag race to the line. Mark Glover has the slipstream, of course, but the start-finish line is coming up very quickly indeed. Bill Cowley is going to win a sensational opening round of the championship. Mark Glover second and Peter Bove third. The top three covered by half a second. That was a phenomenal race. Here is confirmation then of your result. Cowley wins, Glover second, Bove third, Bob Simpson fourth, then Chris Goff fifth, Sue Harris sixth, Dan Welsh seventh, Paul Morris eighth, James Jeffrey ninth, and Tony Brazier rounds out the top 10. Tom Driscoll was the only other finisher. We lost Ed Pither, Bill Rutter, Martin Kemp, Tony Matthew didn't start really. She pulled off on the first lap, and Conway Dorr never did make it out onto the grid. Fastest lap went the way of Ed Pither, but he does not finish.
Oh, Bill, that was an interesting race. You come out with a win, but you weren't expecting it.
No, definitely not. I mean, to be honest, I was expecting second, but I wasn't expecting the pace of Peter and Mark being so quick. I knew Ed was always going to be difficult, but that PRS that them guys have built is absolutely phenomenal.
And Mark, what a race. The opening round of the season. Couldn't have gone much better for you, apart from first maybe.
Yeah, it was all going well to the last two laps, and Billy stuck on the inside of me into Pelic Hill. But no, it was great. I finished the car yesterday morning, and so when I went into qualifying this morning, I didn't know what I was going to get out of it. So to qualify fourth and finish second, I'm really pleased with.